I hope you're doing well.
I am fine. I'm fine. Under the circumstances of Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia Ghana, I can only be as fine as I'm sure you also are managing.
But it's been a while. I mean, you left Parliament in 2016, right?
No, 2020. Actually.
Oh, 2020.
Yeah.
Was it a personal decision you took?
Yes, it was actually. I would say that even before I finished my first term, I already knew that.
After your second term,
in fact, when I was campaigning for my second term, actually, I started assuring virtually my constituent that it was going to be a two-term.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was never meant to be a long journey at all for me.
but how come? I mean, that would be a bit different from the norm. I mean, people get into Parliament and getting out becomes a problem.
Not necessarily. I think we've had a good history of other people who, for example, my Johnson Asiedu Nketia, the current general secretary. I think after 2 terms, he also wanted to exit. He was made to go for a final term. He left. The same for even our immediate past flag bearer and I mean, for former President John Mahama. He also, after 2 terms, wanted to exit. I think he went for the final term. So generally, I think there are a number of people who really don't always intend to remain there forever. It's a very tough job. It's a super tough job. And of course, if you're minded to hang in for longer, then you actually be making extra effort to stay there. But some of us were not really minded to remain there for too long at all. For me, it was more of an opportunity to provide some, shall I call it, developmental service to my people that felt deserve to have an MP who can take that development to them. So that's what I really was intending.
And in the 8 years, you think you were able to do what you set out to achieve?
Yeah, especially in terms of the development project. I would say that without boasting, we help Ketu South to get some of the greatest developmental projects in our history. Of course, I mean, I was privileged to enter into Parliament first and foremost in government. So naturally, that gives you opportunity to be able to leverage things. So we did a bit. We did quite a lot of things in terms of the collective development of the community. Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, it's particularly important because of the new position you want to get to become General Secretary of the party. I mean, you're almost like the CEO of the NDC. You've been propaganda secretary of the party before, now communications officer. And then you became Deputy Minister of Finance. And then you went to Minister of Agric. That was the last portfolio, right?
No, actually, then Transport was my last portfolio.
Yes. And the Minister of Transport. Exactly. I mean, that gives you a solid CV for the new position you want to get into. But I was thinking, I mean, Fiifi Kwetey, household name in the NDC, household name in Ghana's politics. If the NDC should come back to power, I mean, with or without an official party position, you would be highly considered for ministerial appointment or what have you. Why do you want to go back and serve the party?
That's a very good question. Interestingly, I've done quite a number of interviews, but this question has not emerged yet. So, I mean, congrats to you. That's a very good question.
Thank you.
Very good question. Let me say it this way. For me, I'm first and foremost a party man. A party man and also a patriot. Yeah, because that's something I keep stressing throughout my conversation for people to appreciate that the two are not supposed to be opposing each other. I think somehow the politicking that is going on in this country now, we are reaching a level where people think to be a party man, you must not be a patriot. Meaning you must somehow, there should be a conflict between the interests of the party and what is good for the country. I totally disagree, and I vehemently disagree. I would absolutely disagree with anybody, whether it's MPP or NDC, who thinks that way. I think those people are actually the danger to our well-being. Political parties are supposed to be vehicle for the well-being of the nation. And not the other way around. Unfortunately, what is happening in our politics today is becoming a situation where people are placing the party above the nation. And that is dangerous. I call it wicked. It's wicked to the children that we have. It's wicked to the generations to come. So if the parties cannot become vehicles for the transformation of the nation, the parties must cease to exist. Let them change into pressure, different religious, anything, but not call themselves political party. Because if you want to win power, your ultimate aim is not necessarily to have the benefit rate of your party members. That will happen once you do what is good for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think that is something we should think about. So let's say it this way. I'm first and foremost a party person. I've had the privilege of being a party person right from 1992. So I call myself like I've been there right from the baptism in Jordan, if you can call it in the Christian parlance. You know, when Judas killed himself and they wanted to replace him, the disciples said the person that must replace him, that person must have been there from the beginning, from the baptism in Jordan all the way to the ascension. I call myself having been there right from the beginning. I've always essentially had deep love for this party, genuine loyalty, work for this party at different levels. I've had the privilege of being a deputy minister for finance, a privilege of being a minister for agriculture, a privilege of being a minister for transport, and also a member of parliament. So my aspiration is not really to become a minister. I've been a minister. You understand? But I feel we are reaching a crossroad, and this crossroad requires that the best among us start paying more attention to our political parties. Or rather, you notice that there is a lot of should I call it, there is loss of faith, especially in young people in our country. Young people in our country today are starting to feel as if the parties don't really care about the country. They only care about themselves. They start to feel as if the two parties are doing just what benefits themselves and not what benefits the country. I think we must be having the best among us. And when I mean the best, sometimes when you talk in our society, when you say somebody is the best, people think about it in terms of you are academically the best or you are intellectually the best. No, for me, when I say best, the first thing I talk about is that in terms of character, you really must be among the best. And for me, character means genuine love for your country, genuine love for your people. I feel the best among us must start focusing on our political parties, because those are vehicles that are controlling millions of people. Now, so let's say if you have, 10 million people who are active members of the NDC, there are, let's say, 10 million people who are active members of the MPP. If the best in the NDC, the best in the MPP are in charge of those two political parties, that's up to 20 million people who are being pushed in the right direction. We are mobilizing them for things that will bring good for country. You're mobilizing in terms of letting them know that there's a need to love country more, to work harder for country, to have values that and attitude that will bring good to the country. I feel that is where I've reached now. I want to have a lot more devotion to this party, because we are talking about a party that can affect millions of people. A minister is great, but it means that you can affect maybe your sector, possibly be in charge of your staff, and then you can do something in your staff that can affect the country in a way. But if you're in charge of the political party, you are capable to speak to the heart of millions of people. You are capable of mobilizing, especially young people in this country, and mobilize them for good. That's a massive privilege, and I look forward to having this privilege in order to especially do something, for the generations to come. That is actually why the ministerial thing is not exactly what it is that I'm looking for at the moment. I want to see how we can totally invest ourselves in turning this party into what it was meant to be. I would say it's a great party. But of course, over a period of 30 years, this journey has been over 30 years. Naturally, every group goes through some difficulties. In the process, sometimes you acquire habits that are not exactly the right habit. I want us to see how we can go back to some of those original principles. Principles that will make us the true party of patriot that we are meant to be. Remember, our party anthem starts with the words, arise for Ghana, you patriots of the land. And our party anthem we came up with party anthem in June of 1992.
Oh, June 92.
MPP came up with the name New Patriotic Party and outlawed it in August of 92. So we are talking about the genuine true patriot is us. The only thing that we do not carry that name patriot. They carry the name patriot, and their attitudes have not shown to be great patriot. So I wanted you to know that the real true patriot, those who truly love Ghana, are supposed to be us. It doesn't mean everybody in MPP is not patriotic. Of course, there are genuine patriots there too. But I think we have far more patriots. But we can do better in mobilizing this party to ensure that greater love for country will emerge out of this party.
So how you want to see and where you want to see the NDC, you think you can only achieve that when you are general secretary and not in any other position, even within the party.
Yeah,
so, for example, you were in charge of communication for the party at a point. Maybe you could have tried the national organizer, the national chairman, for example. Why general secretary?
There again, another great question. I like your line of question, and I'm not patronizing. I'm just telling you the truth.
I understand you.
The truth of the matter is that everybody must know his capacity. That's why sometimes I get disappointed when I see colleagues of mine who have different abilities and wanting to do things that naturally that's not their strength.
Yeah.
Because, the last time when I wanted to contest for this party, there were so many beautiful areas that I could have gone. In fact, I will tell you, my colleagues, if the name at the time were a beautiful name like communication officer or chief communicator, some of my colleagues who went for other positions would have gone for it.
Sure.
Because they were concerned about how nice the titles would be.
Yeah.
I saw that title, and to be honest with you, I hated the title.
The propaganda.
Of course, I hated it because I don't understand why we should have a title like that. It's not because propaganda necessarily means something bad. But the fact of the matter is that over a period of several decades, everybody in the world has assumed that the word propaganda means to lie.
Yeah.
Even though originally, original that's not really the truth.
Sure.
In fact, if you go to the Cali Church today, you have an office that is for propaganda. Propaganda simply means to propagate. It can be truth and it can be a lie. But because human beings naturally lie so much, over time we've all assumed that it means you are lying. So naturally, I felt as a party we should not have
jettisoned that position.
Yeah, but regardless of the fact that I did not like the title, I felt that was a position I could serve the party in my capacity.
At the time,
so I went for it. So I went for it, carrying a title that did not lie, but wanting to do something for my party. That is what you do when you know where your strength is. I never can be an organizer.
Okay.
That's not my strength.
Okay.
If you watch me carefully throughout this party, you will never, for example, have seen me being an MC of any party program. Never.
Sure.
A lot of my colleagues have been MCs. They know how to animate. They know how to dance on platform, how to make people happy. That's never me. And I know what my strength is. My first strength, that's where I served the party, was as a communicator. And that remains a great strength of mine. But much greater than that is my capacity to be what you call a war room general. It's a natural area for me.
Strategy.
To be able to be in the middle and see things happening. It's almost like how the brain operates. You are saying, for example, what needs to be done at the level of the heart, what needs to go to the lungs, what needs to go to the reproductive organs, what should happen at the pancreas, what should happen to the feet, what should happen to different. So putting it together, finding solutions, seeing problems, and seeing how you can resolve them. That is what I see the CEO job to be. The CEO job is not the one. It's not the leg that's supposed to be moving. It's not the hand that's supposed to be going out. No, it's not the mouth that's supposed to necessarily speak. You're supposed to be seeing everything like the big picture person and see how the visions of the party, the strategies can be best implemented. So right from that center, you should be able to see what's happening in every constituency. What are the problems? How can we resolve them? If there's a problem in this constituency regarding maybe the need for us to have more women, how can we ensure that the women organized at the national level, regional level, constituency level, operate in a manner we can win those women and bring them over? If it's young people, which category of young people? So this requires big thinking, it requires big strategy, capacity to see the big picture, and above all, being able to put together a team in order to make it happen. And that's something I naturally have a capacity for.
But do you think your party folks have warmed up to this new thinking, this reality? Because I think what is it for them would be, okay, if you are general secretary, if there is a funeral in constituency A, you should be seen there. If there is a birthday party in constituency B, you should be seen there. If there is this party activity, health work here, the general secretary should be there. So you should be that man who drives, that man who, when you appear, everybody will say, oh, okay, that Johnson Asiedu Nketia, that Fiifi Kwetey. Don't you think that will run contrary to your idea of what the general secretary should be doing?
No, it need not at all. I mean, if you have, there again, let me give you a typical scenario. If you have a party that is working properly, then you actually will have the best who are supposed to be in different places at the same time. I mean, if you create a situation where you need to be everywhere. Before your party operates, you are a failure. You are just a failure.
Okay.
Real success is the capacity to ensure that who needs to be at the right place is there at the same time. So let's say, for example, on election day, it's not possible for you, the general secretary, to be in every 275 constituencies at the same time.
That's true.
You can't be in every polling station at the same time. But if you have an operation that's working properly, you can be right in one place at the same time affecting 275 constituencies. Finding how best the solutions to come. This problem, does it need to be resolved by the regional chairman? You get the regional chairman. Does it need to be resolved by a constituency chairman? It needs to be resolved. Does it need to be resolved by a branch chairman? What about a branch secretary? What about a branch youth organizer, women organizer? That is how it's supposed to be. Now, there are places where naturally you will have to be. I mean, where your presence will be required. But you simply cannot expect that general secretary have to be. In fact, if you do that, it means you actually are taking the job of your organizers. For example, your organizer is supposed to be in charge of the overall organization. Your women organizer should be in charge of women organization. Your youth organizer in charge of youth. Your Zongo Caucus coordinators in charge of that. Your communicators in charge of communication. Now, if you start running and taking their job, you've already been a failure yourself. So it is about having a proper procedure that everybody can be effective, and that's what I love to do. In fact, when I was even in charge of communication, I said my greatest success was not the fact that I could come to Asempa and have get the best debate. I do not look at that, and it's something that I have a conversation with my young brother Sami Jemfi all the time. I tell him that, listen, you're doing great. But I think the greatest success is not your own capacity to be excellent.
It's to build
it's
others.
The fact that you can actually create a system by which even the branch communicator in every branch is absolutely beautiful and it's almost as great as yourself. That is how I view it. So when I was communication, if you call it propaganda secretary or chief communicator of the party, my job was to ensure that the information that's available to me in real time is available to even the least person in the party. In fact, that's why, for example, we actually move like one powerful orchestra. Because
you were able to do that without the benefit of technology. What we have now.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I used to use Yam Phone. People do not know. I compose all my setting the record straight conferences. I compose them from my tests, my Yam Phone. That's where I type it. After I type it from there, then you move it from there into my how do you call it, my internet, email, and then now pick it from the email to work on. You know, I used to be a journalist, so I used to. So I've heard recently one of my contenders claim that somehow they appointed me to be a spokesperson of the setting records, and I just laughed my head too. I almost wanted to fall to the floor. I mean, I understand this is politics. It's election time. People are desperate, so they are creating impressions that are not there at all. I know it's true. I work with a team of people, but I mean, every single one will tell you the brain, the heart, I mean, the absolute life behind it was myself. Basically, I had a team of people with which I worked, but basically every single one of those compositions came from me. I wrote it myself, put it together. I got ideas from people. That's fine. That's what you do as a great leader, and so on. Anyway, so the point I'm making is that for me, success is not necessarily you being everywhere. For me, if that's what you got to do, you actually are failing. You have to ensure that the system is so well that you can have effective people across level. My joy will be to have every secretary at the branch level being as effective as myself at the national level. Every organizer at the branch level will be as effective as myself at the national level. Every youth organizer, women organizer, communicator at that branch level should be. That for me will be the great success.
The other thing would be that, and I'm happy you've spoken to us about your strength as an individual and how that strength syncs with what the general secretary is supposed to do. Do you have any weakness that you think, if I don't work on this, my success as a general secretary would be a bit problematic?
You know, every human being has strength, every human being has weaknesses. That's very normal. That's super normal. Let's see it this way. My motto in life, if you know, the WhatsApp that all of us have, if you go into your DP right now, underneath you it's a place called your status, which is a permanent status. When you go into mine, your status, you see what you see there is called, the writing there is say, to thine own self be true. It simply means
to thine own self be true.
That for me is the most important message of my life. I like to have the courage to look into that mirror and not run away from what I see. So effectively, I'm my own greatest critic. So maybe to a fault, if you ask weakness, maybe that I'm a bit too critical on myself.
Okay.
Because that's really, I don't like to deceive myself.
Okay.
I like to face the truth about who I am. So naturally, everybody has got weaknesses. Yeah. One of my weaknesses would be the fact that, I wonder whether that truly is my fault. I come across to many as being too, maybe too hard.
Yeah.
Maybe too passionate. And maybe that causes problem. But the truth of the matter is, I've always had what you call very deep passion concerning this country.
Okay.
In fact, growing up, I can tell you, my first political influence was Bob Marley.
Oh.
Yeah, my first political influence was Bob Marley. Because of the philosophy towards Africa, the need for Africa to rise.
And that renaissance of mind.
Break the chains that are holding us down. Find independence, and I mean true independence, not just political, but the genuine independence, in order for us to fulfill destiny. So for me, that was always important. So I was shaped by that culture and that philosophy. The music is great, but the philosophy was even better. Of course, my second inspiration politically became Jerry Rawlings. Where at the age of 12, he burst onto the scene, came back subsequently to now lead a process of young patriots, despite their fault, restoring this country from a brink of collapse in 1982 into 1992 and setting us on this beautiful journey that we are calling the democratic parties. Now, so I'm very passionate by nature, and often sometimes people mistake that strong passion for a person who simply is not easy to approach. But if you saw, for example, how I operated in charge of the communication of the NDC, he tells you that this is somebody who is so easy to reach. Because for me, once we all have the common agenda, which is love for our party, we are great friends. My issue is when sometimes you place your personal issue above the collective. That I have a problem with. And that there's never will I change on that. I believe the party must always be the paramount thing. I believe the nation must always be. But when you start placing your individual best interest above that of the party, naturally you are going to have an issue with me. I believe all of us must understand the party's first, the party's interest number one. If we can all have that, listen, we'll have beautiful friendship, we'll work together in order to achieve.
Some have said because you are gunning for an elective position, some have said politics is about perceptions, and if you find that perceptions around you are negative, you take drastic and deliberate steps to change those perceptions. If the narrative out there from a section of the party people are that this man is competent to all intent and purposes, solid guy, but he's not somebody you can easily relate with. He's not affable. He's like prim and proper, almost a perfectionist. And all of that. Have you explained yourself well to them?
You should appreciate that one when you are going into contests, especially in these political times, is the nature of the game for people who are contending with you to spin things beyond recognition.
Create a certain narrative.
Naturally. And I can tell you, for example, that those, in fact, among the contenders, there's one who is actually a very, very close brother and friend. And sometimes when I hear his supporters create the impression I'm supposed to be some monster that cannot be approached, I laugh, because that contender knows exactly who I am in terms of one-on-one, knows exactly that I'm one of the coolest persons you can ever be. Love to have my fun, love to have good laughter, we joke about life. The only thing is that when it comes to work, we want things to be done well. And this nation needs that. This nation needs that. You know, a continent that has seen so much poverty, so much underdevelopment, so much lack of humanity, so much what I call lack of confidence. It's not a continent where there should be a lot of joking.
There is no time to
serious issues here. But of course, there will be moments after you do what is right to be able to have your fun, but not mix the two. When it's moment for work, it's moment for work. When it's moment for play, then we play. By the way, one of the best ways I play is football.
Yeah,
I love football. I love football.
You play it.
In fact, I started as one of the greatest fans of Accra House of Folk. Right from childhood. And when I was in Achimota School, don't tell my teachers, because I used to run away from school to just go and watch her, sometimes just training every day. And as for the football, as for the games, I used to be there all the time.
Wow.
So basically great. And today I still continue. Maybe your club is not my club, my favorite club. My favorite club is Chelsea. I'll call myself the greatest Chelsea fan in the whole of Africa. So I do have moments where I have my fun, where you are with friends, then you have good laughter, you laugh. But at the same time, when moments of seriousness come, I believe that we need to wear the dawn of seriousness. And where this country is today, that dawn of seriousness must always be there. And then there are moments where we know how to have our fun, but the two must go together. So I would say that it's not a problem at all being able to work with a team of people. I can tell you an interesting situation. If, for example, you decide to do your own investigation, go to, for example, the finance ministry. Before I step into that ministry, they had all kinds of perception about you. How this guy is going to be a very difficult person to work with. This guy is always looking aggressive. Some people say this guy is arrogant. And when I went to the place, after 1 month, they thought maybe this guy is faking. Because the guy is friendly, the guy is easy to reach, the guy is easy to approach, the guy is smiling, and they're like, but this guy maybe is faking. After 2 months, 3 months, after just a few months, a few came to me and say, Honorable, I think somehow we had a very bad perception about you. But having been with you now, we know that it's a completely different situation. That often is the case. You have a situation where people say, oh God, before I got close to you, I didn't know that you were this nice and this easy to reach, this friendly. When you get also in Africa, we judge too often the book by the cover. We don't take our time to get to read the book in order to know. So I say that when people get a little closer, when I meet the delegate, they meet me one-on-one. Those of them who are trying to reach me, and many of them are reaching me. They see exactly how I'm reacting to them. They see exactly how easy it is to converse with me. They know that in spite of my being principled, wanting things right, I'm also very easy to talk to, very humble. I don't disrespect people. Just I want things done well. People get to know that all this spin about this guy being impossible to work with, arrogant guy, is just nothing but what you call pure spin. You see that I keep deliberately not use the word propaganda. Because I still refuse to accept that propaganda means to lie. So I use the word spin. That's a way of just people just trying to do what they do.
That's more like it. But would you also say that it is fair on your person when people say, after you got out of Parliament, that was in 2020.
Okay.
Till now, you've gone very quiet, and that yes, everybody knows Fiifi to be that very competent communicator. But Fiifi has been quiet. I mean, this is the time the party needs strong communicators like Fiifi Kwetey. But it seems since he left Parliament, we've not heard. He's trying to rebrand. I mean, this thing about leadership and all of that. We are not seeing the party person Fiifi Kwetey. What would you say to that?
I've heard a few of those concerns as well. But to be honest with you, those concerns didn't even start after I left Parliament. Those concerns actually started from, let's just say, around 2017. 2017. Okay. Incidentally, I turned 50 in 2017.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I turned 50 in 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can see your surprise. I can see your surprise. I'm blessed, and I'm thankful to God. Yeah, I turned 50 in 2017. And in 2017, I penned what I call a little book. And that little book for me contained, let's just call it some of my deep thoughts. And they were thoughts relating to what it is I wish for this country. Now, as a result of some of those what I call deep thoughts, deep philosophy, people automatically say, oh God, he stopped. He doesn't want to do politics anymore. Now he wants to become a preacher, or you want to become a motivational speaker. Somehow in our country, when you express deep philosophy, people call it motivational speaking. I don't call it motivational speaking at all. The things I say about, they're things I feel deep about this society. You understand? I feel there are things that are wrong, that must be done better. There are individual values that we must get to. People call it motivational. I don't call it motivational. I call it just truth that all of us must inculcate. But it is not true at all that I actually have not been in the party. I have. The difference is this. For example, for quite even before 2020, a lot of people even forget. I hear some of my opponents claim that no, even 2020 he really didn't even do anything for the party. He was nowhere to be seen. Some of them actually lied that I went to my constituency and told them, don't even bother to work because there's no way this is winning, so they should stop working. Complete fabrication.
People are saying
that? Absolutely. And I'm sure the supporters of one of my contenders who are behind this, they are listening to me. Sad for you. You should be better than that. You should rise above this pettiness and this deliberate lie, because that is nothing but a lie. The truth. In 2020, ahead of the election, I was a key member of the communication committee. In that communication committee, and exactly every single thing that you saw happening at the communication level, where Sammy Jemfi was virtually the spokesperson, there was a committee behind it. That committee was headed by Totobi Kwachi and Sfio Gabra. We work a lot towards what you call shaping the whole policy towards the communication. A lot of people forget. I addressed 2 major press conferences of the party ahead of the 2020 election. The first major press conference I addressed had to do with the issue of, you remember when they sent armed soldiers to the eastern border? Yeah. So the party decided to address a major press conference. Then I addressed that press conference. And we addressed that in the Volta region, in my constituency. So I spoke to that. The final press conference of the party, which was done at the party head office, was co-addressed by myself and Sammy Jemfi. In fact, I'm sure you may have seen some of that, because that is actually the press conference where the words, I come from Nogopo in the Volta region. If President Akufo-Addo says he's a man, he should come to me, to my hometown. Let's see whether he will lie or not. I'm sure you have seen a bit of that video. That was the final press conference. So in terms of participation in key party thing, I was there at that level. That's not all. I also took a major part in the drafting of the manifesto, especially the finance and economy portion. And I work under what you call the economic committee, headed by Professor Kwesi Bochwe, together with other colleagues, was in Setekbe, Atoforsen, Adongo, all of us. We worked very hard to ensure that we came up with one of the best manifestos, which manifesto was one of the main reasons we actually had a very good performance in 2020. And beyond that as well, I played a key role on the election day when there were issues that had to do with results. I was one of the people who was at the party office. I stayed in Sammy Jemfi's office, and there are witnesses who saw me. I worked throughout that night like a bull, trying hard to make sure that we manually get as many of our results as possible. Work all the way to the following day, back to back. But that's me. I don't mind sometimes working behind the scenes. No. I'm the kind that can do the great job in front of the scene, but also have no problem when I need to be at the back in order to support. That's generally me. So any of this stuff about he's not really been saying. Maybe people expected that every single day I should also be appearing on the media like I used to do. But listen, people don't get it. I mean, I have been in the forefront of media from 1998. 1998, when some of these people who are contesting me today did not even ever dream about media. I was already in the forefront of the media representing this party. So really I've done that. It's if after what? 1998, that's what, 20 something years? 20, you're getting to 24 now. If after 24 years you still have to be in the forefront, when you have young budding people like Sammy Jemfi and the rest, Edemagbana, all these people, if you cannot be behind them, helping them, guiding them, enabling them to do better, it means that you yourself have a problem. People actually see me also with maybe like you express surprise when people see me with my young colleagues like Okujito Ablakwa, Atoforsen, they kind of think that we are age mates. I'm older than them. I'm their big brother. I am surprised, honestly. So sometimes it is their moment also to be day to day doing what I've been doing from 1998. I'm actually surprised. I mean, the 50-year thing. I know. Really, I'm actually 55 now. 55 now. Wow. Yeah. So anyway, so people were expecting that Fiifi must continue being in the media every day, but there's really no need. I prefer. In fact, I feel so much joy when I see my younger brothers like the Sami, what's the name? Sami Okujeto Ablakwa, what's the name? Sam George, Sohini, John Jinapo, what's the name? Sammy Jemfi, and the rest of many young people. I mean, Beatrice Annan, doing fantastic job. I'm constantly pushing them on because I see them doing exactly what some of us did at the time where it was more difficult to do. We were fewer to do. That is my greatest joy. And as I say, I have no problem stepping behind and pushing people, enabling them to do even better. That is
but it. Don't you think that might, for the want of a better expression, come back to hurt you now? Because, and I say this in the context that when you look at the other aspirant for the general secretary position, Elvis Efriankra was director of elections.
That's true. You mean as in he's still director of elections?
Sure. He's still director of elections. Sure. So virtually he was everywhere, defending the party on electoral issues and all of that. The other opponent, Vandal Bola, Otukono, Deputy General Secretary. still going around everywhere, quite visible and all of that.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Don't you think they would have that advantage?
Definitely have an advantage, because having been over the last 4 years, having effectively almost the last 4 years, having been the forefront of things, naturally they have a certain start, which is okay. But exactly, that's not different for example, the fact that in 2005, when we went to our Congress, the Congress where I emerged as propaganda secretary, and where Asiedun Ketia emerged as the general secretary. I mean, you had, for example, Bizedin, who was then the acting general secretary.
Sure.
But Asiedun Ketia, who actually was not in the forefront of things, came from nowhere and absolutely took the position. So the fact that you have over the last 4 years serving a certain position doesn't mean that you actually have the capacity to be a better general secretary. So I would say that that's true. But the same way, I mean, before I became propaganda secretary of this party, there were people who were what you call in the forefront and so on. But I came from nowhere and took that position and absolutely did a great, fantastic job with the position. So it is true that if you are being seen every day, it gives you a certain advantage. But for me, I think I have a track record, and that track record is there. It's a track record not just in terms of my capacity to speak well for this party. It's also a track record that proves itself even in government. That I manage what you call several ministerial portfolios and absolutely have impeccable record. Nothing can be pointed to you in the handling of any of those ministerial positions. That is great. It tells you that that is the kind of background that is needed. Having first been in a party level, I've got that experience. I've got experience as far as the ministerial level is concerned. I have experience also as far as MPship is concerned. And for this job, you need that, because you are going to be working especially with members of parliament. And they feel much more comfortable knowing that one of their own is the one there, because I understand their issues, understand their concern. I can empathize with them, having been in the
former
situation.
MP among
absolutely. So that gives you a great advantage. We are going into an election that is going to be economy. That's really what it's all going to be. Now, if you have a general secretary who himself is what you call a champion when it comes to the subject of economy, do you actually know how the flag bearer of the party will be happy, knowing that even the party itself is in the forefront of championing the campaign on the economy, making the job easy for him? So, for example, let's say Bawumia emerges, for instance. I mean, and let's assume President Mahama becomes our flag bearer. President Mahama does not even need to worry so much about Bawumia, because he knows his general secretary can absolutely take care of him. Not just deal, take care of him. Make him keep quiet.
And you can do that.
Oh, absolutely. He knows. Dr. Bawumia knows. I'm telling you, if Dr. Bawumia is asked right now, the choice of the three, who do you wish becomes general secretary? He will tell you it should not be Fiifi Kwetey, because he knows. He knows exactly what is going to happen. If I'm in charge of this party, I can marshal the full...
But Dr. Bawumia will tell you, Fiifi, that between 2014, 15 and 16, when he took this country by storm, with his lectures on the economy, there was nobody to effectively respond to him from government at the time.
No, the reason was simple. And to understand, I can understand. The reason was simple. You know, Bawumia, and this is not to say that some of our colleagues who were in charge at the time did not do a good job. But all of us have our strength. Okay? When, for example, I was Deputy Minister of Finance, trust me, I mean, he simply did not have the capacity to open his mouth and say the things he said, because we would have absolutely shut him up with facts and figures, and do it in a convincing manner. Between 2013 and 2016, he was able to get away, because in Setekpe, great guy, but Setekpe exactly is not what you call, the greatest communicator. He has a strength. His strength is much more on the technical side of things. Atufosin, then young deputy minister, was also not exactly what you call a great communicator at the time. He has now become much better. So, of course, he had a great advantage. He also had an advantage because somehow, in Pakwesi Misata, he met a much more gentler running mate. And so that was the person, those are the people who really should have kept him quiet, but somehow they were far more technical at the time, much more than the culture.
But you were still in government.
Yeah, but then you see, you do not move from, for example, transport minister to come and be wrestling the issues of the economy away from people who are in charge of it, because you must understand there are protocols. So you have to cater for your area. I can't come and be speaking on behalf of the economy when you have a minister, deputy, and so on. So you needed to respect a bit of that. And that's important. When I was deputy minister, I could do that because that was my area. But now, as a party CEO, you are in a position to marshal the whole party, to be able to, as it were, champion the issue of economy at the party level, in order to actually make the job of the flag bearer and his running mate, absolutely easier. So you are taking care of making sure whoever emerges as the leader of the MPP, as far as the economy is concerned, which is going to be the heart of the campaign, that issue is sorted and dealt with. I mean, that's a great advantage for the party.
But even before you are thrust into that position to become CEO of the party, where you would have the capacity to now come out and speak on some of these issues, some have said we are barely 2 years to the next election. When you backtrack a bit to say 2014, where again the NPP had 2 years to the next general election in 2016, they were all over the place with economic lectures, proffering some alternatives. This should be done rather than this. Some of their flagship promises were already, being thrown out there.
Not necessarily.
But at the time, free SHS in 2014 was almost...
free SHS actually had been promised from 2008, so it was nothing new.
It
was really nothing new at all. So basically, those are the time when they were floundering and lying all over the place. They couldn't even cost it.
Were they lies?
Of course, they couldn't even cost it. Yeah, I mean, you remember when he went for an interview,
the BBC interview,
and he asked what was the cost of it. He was blubbering all over the place. He didn't know what to say. So it tells you that even though he was talking about free SHS, he had no idea how it was going to be implemented. Remember, even when he came into office, they didn't have a clue how to do it. At the point they were mooting the idea of maybe heritage fund. Let's use heritage fund and let's use. They didn't have an idea how to cost it. No wonder today we are seeing it in the situation we have today, that our children are being fed with food that in certain homes you don't even give it to animals. I mean, so that tells you it was completely not well thought through. They basically wanted to just do politics with it. But let's not shift into the subject of free SHS.
Yeah, but the point I'm making, my question was, for now, it seems your party is relying mainly on the failings of this administration rather than telling the Ghanaian people what the alternatives are from the NDs.
No, I disagree. Because don't forget, we went into the 2020 election and put together we put two alternatives on the table. And we asked the people of Ghana, these are the two alternatives. And of course, the people of Ghana, by a certain measure, decided that, listen, maybe the first 4 years, of course, was not good enough. And we saw that, for example, in the parliamentary results, which was the first time since 1992 that we saw a government of the day lose so many seats and eventually actually lose the majority and became minority in parliament, even though, of course, what we have today is a lot of by force that they use to get some of those seats and so on. So we put two alternatives. So our alternatives is still on the table. For now, we chose one alternative, and that alternative is running. The time is going to come for us to be asked to submit a proper set of alternatives again, and that comes in the form of a manifesto. In the meantime, what we do is to basically hold to the fire the feet of the government and ensure that every single day we tell the people of Ghana, we give you alternatives, some way, somehow. This was what was chosen, and this is the level. This is the level of what you call bad governance that we have. We let them know that this is a mistake that we should never make again. This is a mistake we should never make again. Our alternatives are still available. People can still make a reference to our alternatives. So on that basis, when people say you do not have an alternative, it's not true. We finished election barely 2 years ago. The kind of things we propose are still pretty relevant. Even though, of course, the economy has become even much more shattered. So therefore, there will be need for us to do tweaking in order to be able to bring about what you call some modification. By and large, we were clear about how we wanted to take this country forward. So if they say we are depending on just the failure of the government of the day, I don't think it's true. But the fact of the matter is that the government of the day is absolutely doing a great job at collapsing themselves, failing themselves
and the economy.
But we do not believe that alone is enough. We believe that one of the ways in which we can show a clear difference is to let the people of Ghana appreciate that we are not the same. That's why I mentioned earlier about the fact that the young people are losing hope, they are losing faith, they're starting to think that the two parties are the same, but it is not true. One party is a party that was founded on genuine love of country and patriotism. The other one purports to be loving country, being patriotic, but their history from very beginning shows that they do not have a lot of love. They do much more. They have much more love for themselves, much more love for just having power, but not as much love in terms of doing what is good for the country. That's why you see the history, our record of development is absolutely unprecedented when you compare to them. See, for example, the resources that we had between 2009 up to 2016 is nothing to be compared with what they have had over the last 6 years. But check the record of performance, the deliverable, the development that we have put into this country over that period. You cannot compare that to what they have done now. That should tell you which party has the genuine love for nation that wants to do what is right. Check, for example, their record in terms of deception. I mean, this is a government that has collapsed this country, morally speaking. A government that has shown that governance is all about how many lies you can tell. So, for example, you are in crisis such as we are in, you still are lying to the country that the problem is actually not from us, it's coming from COVID, it's coming from Russia, it's coming from Ukraine. That is refusing to take responsibility. Meanwhile, you very well know that if it were the truth, then we should have Nigeria's economy collapsing every day like ours, being downgraded every day, their currency being degraded, falling every day. We should have the same in Guinea, the same in Sierra Leone, the same in Liberia, the same in Gambia, the same in Rwanda, and that's not the case. So that tells you that the deception that is going on in this country is actually the very beginning of the collapse of this country. I've repeated it several times that what is happening in this country is not simply an economic collapse. It's actually a collapse of morality. It's a collapse of character. And that is the beginning of it. It's a credibility crisis we have. And until the people who are ruling this country understand, you cannot win power through deception and accept to use the same deception to remain in power. When you do that, you sink the very soul of this country.
But would that be fair when you say they won an election on the basis of peddling falsehoods? Because they would quickly also refer you, and I'm happy you were key in the 2008 campaign, where you also made certain promises you couldn't fulfill when you won power. Notably, the one-time premium for free senior.
That's
for free. That's for the national health insurance.
Yeah, what's called one-time premium for national.
Sure.
You see, let's say it this way. I've not at any point said that NDC is made up of perfect people.
Okay.
I've never said so. Right here, I told you that for a period of 30 years, even we ourselves have got certain weaknesses and we need to address them. But to be honest with you, the problem is not about making promises and failing them. You can actually make promises, but as a result of what you call genuine lack of resources, you may not be able to do it.
Yes.
But what you do is to have the decency of not forcing to do it simply because you want to prove your opponent wrong. So let me give you an example. We went in 2008 election, and in that manifesto, because I actually was a member of the manifesto draft in 2008, one of our key people who was in charge of health, who therefore had what you call the information that we relied on and so on, gave us the information that it is possible for one-time premium to be delivered. Gave us some numbers that made us to believe that it could be done. Because he said he has spoken with all the key people who were in the sector, so we incorporated that into our manifesto. Coming to office, it didn't take us 4-5 months to start realizing that if we force through that one-time premium, we'll collapse the health sector of the country. We'll collapse it completely. Now, if you are a genuine patriot and you love your country, what you do is that you take you eat the humble pie, but not going ahead to do it. Because you know that if you force it, you will destroy things. And that's exactly what happened in our case. We did not force it.
You didn't come out to apologize for not being able to implement it.
No, but the important thing is that if it's something you are unable to do, you focus on what it is you can do. So what did we do? We focus on, for example, delivering infrastructure in the health sector, ensuring that we expanded that infrastructure, because we saw that actually was the greater priority. That was actually the greater priority for the people of Ghana. We were not able to completely do that. And that's okay. There's no government in the world that does every single thing that has been promised. But that is completely different from when you actually deliberately make a promise. And that promise, even at the time you were making, you knew clearly that you were not telling the truth. Why? It's simple. If you have a country where even the basic level of education is not free, you build from foundation.
Sure.
The basic level of education is not free. Even as I speak to you now, the basic education is still not free. There are still many things that parents whose children are in the primary and basic sector still have to incur. They still do. So that tells you that even the foundation is not free. And you knew that. You also do know that with the resources that constraint that we have, for example, if I tell you today that we still have over 5,000 schools that are under trees in 2022 in Ghana, it's totally inconceivable and unforgivable. But that is what we have. And then you decide that because you need to prove your opponent wrong, you will force through a policy. When even your own finance minister tells you that this policy, you have to look at it, you say no, because you're thinking about yourself. It's more about me, my ego. Hey, I need to do this so I can prove my enemies wrong. I can prove my opponent wrong. When you are doing something that is collapsing the sector, affecting the quality of education, imperiling the very health of our children, holding back the future of the country, it tells you that you don't love the country enough. So when I say they rose to power on the back of lies and think that they can maintain power on the back of lies, I'm telling you exactly what
but the point is, your party has also consistently made a point that the free SHS we see now was started by you guys. No, so how can they be lying?
There's no problem with making an effort to what you call gradually make education affordable. That is a good dream. Even our constitution endorses it. The constitution of Ghana says, as and when resources permit, education should be made affordable, if not completely free. That is our constitution. So there's not, for me, it's not even a party position here. There's nothing like NDC position, MPP position. It is what you call the constitution of Ghana that says, as much as resources will permit, you need to do it. So it is a mandate of our constitution. So it's not a problem. And we did exactly that. We made it progressively free by making sure, for example, in fact, let me give you, when we came into power in 2009, one of the first things we did was to look, for example, at the school feeding program. So, for example, we saw one of my schools, Achimota School. We saw, for example, that there was a school feeding in Achimota School. And the children there did not care about the food because the food that was being served in those facilities is far low quality than the food they eat at home. So what we did was that we said, no, this cannot be. So we actually took it and put it to areas that are much more what you call a disadvantage economically.
There was free school feeding in Achimota School?
Yes.
Achimota Primary?
Yeah, Achimota Primary.
Are you sure?
I'm telling you. No, but these are things that can be verified. So we took it from places where we thought, no, economically those children really didn't need them, to places where they actually needed it. That is what you do when you are conscious of genuine development for your country. Not simply to do it for the sake of doing it, but do it well. Because what is worth doing is worth doing well. That is what the difference is between us and MPP. They are just conscious about doing something so that they can stand on it and campaign and say, we have done it, vote for us. We believe that if you have to do it, do it properly. So a number of things we have said. Today, they have gone full circle and I can be back to it. We said, for example, that if you want to have what you call proper quality education, look, for example, at opening what you call the facilities that will ensure that people can have access to those schools. Those people who genuinely are handicapped economically, create a means by which, for example, they can have daycare system. I mean, what you call day system that will enable them to go to school. But otherwise, allow parents who still can contribute to continue contributing.
But they've told you the two are not mutually exclusive. And that you can pay for students to be in school while providing the infrastructure.
But the evidence today that show that the resources simply have not been enough. No wonder we see. I mean, what are you not seeing? Are you not seeing the kind of things that are going on? They literally are threatening headmasters because they don't want headmasters to come out with the truth of the real, what you call, bad situation going on in our schools. They are making them afraid. If you speak to them, they will threaten you and so on. That tells you that they think that they can use political, should I call it strong-handedness to make people be quiet in the system because they know what they are doing is simply political. And that must not happen. So the point I'm making is that there is a clear difference between the two parties. NDC, over the years, have shown to be far more concerned about the real development of this country. We are not perfect. MPP has shown to be far more concerned about themselves and anything they can do just to hold on to power.
Fiifi Kwetey, a General Secretary aspirant and as a hopeful for the NDC. I'll bring you back to the party, but that'll be after I do this set of commercials. And when we come back to the party, I would want you to tell us, sitting outside, because now you are not an officer of the party, as it were. What have you seen about the NDC you want changed? And that you want to be given the opportunity to come in and change as far as the General Secretary position and role is concerned. So we'll come there. But ansana no mamemfa we mamo health organic product. Healthy health organic product. Omunro waswa abadwaso eyinro ehia pa. Omo healthy man capsules. And for male vitality and general well-being of men. If you are suffering from sexual weakness, premature ejaculation, if you want your male libido to be boosted, here healthy man capsules. But more than say OBPB at all. And your healthy lady capsules. And also Emma say libido levels at Tiaba form. suffer from candidiasis, the baby friend white, menstrual pains, general well-being of women, what draw we hear a healthy lady capsules, and your healthy GE, and sexually transmitted diseases, say gonorrhea, syphilis, bilharzia, and its related infections, unya burning sensations, abase o jonswa na obema mu show me pacho nya healthy GE mama ne mema nyina ejina wonnan so kama maybe me go healthy lux and say also suffer from constipation and I say gas in your stomach leading to a bloated stomach, phlegms, piles and waist pains. Healthy lux ebeboa. Pharmacy, chemical and herbal shops in Obenya Biato. Only Healthy Health Limited Ninkomo 0594 422 921 0594 422-921 na bibia enkoye ma say e was a consumer made in Ghana product here na baako ade bia me kamfo ma a neat chocolate drink. It is produced by Neat Confectionaries, a Free Zones company. Na way chocolate, it's made from Ghana's finest cocoa and very delicious, enriched with vitamins and minerals. Unyabia ebebwa papa we made in Ghana product. You can't need chocolate drinker. Now I just taste of Ghana. Baby malls our Ghana hen na obenya biato ho oko Melcom shops, Game, ShopRite, Petrol Mart, ninyina neat chocolate drink e ho obenya bi ato. Me patcho mo amope no dodo atu akwa akoton no. Numbers a obefre ye mienu. Baako is Stephen Amwako number ye 0244 371 818 0244 371 818 and a Gladys Amwa number is 0501 518 883 0501 518 883 na only one into me in the encomo Ghana Pay app so ebia wate ba won download me pacha download the CC Google Play Store and I say App Store bit ma download it. Download the app ni we you have to register. Registration you start by dialing *707# *707# and follow the prompt. Just visit any branch of your selected bank, or you will have to select a bank in a registration process. You have to visit a branch of that bank and activate your wallet. With this app, Ghana Pay mobile money service. You can send and receive money at zero transaction fees. Ubetimi de tria bills. Ubetimi de ato airtime, any data. Ubetimi de transfer is free. O bank account mu aba mobile wallet mu and vice versa. It's amazing. The Ghana Pay app. It's an app developed right here in Ghana. GIPS and Ashe IBBA and GIPS Ghana Interbank Payment System. They're a subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana. And it's a solid app in Canada. Ghana Pay. Also transaction BA free. You only pay e-levy. Ghana Pay, your money, your way. More pay mobile phones at all. Ebia when you skakakra opese auto phone ebeche the amount quality phone na yamfa 6 and 9 Franco Trading Enterprise na wasa Oko Franco it's the leading mobile phones and accessories and even electronic retail outlet right here in Ghana. Your Nokia phones, Nokia fufurobia but your Nokia C30, your Nokia G10 and a C30 ni nyina yefoforo boy adwuma brutal. Your Samsung phones, your iPhones open smart TVs ranging from 32 inches to 55 inches, your tabletop fridges, your Franco air condition and also 1.5 horsepower 2.0 and a 2.5 ni nyina ukwa ubenya bi ato. And in fact all other mobile phone brands and accessories ubenya bi our Franco Trading Enterprise ebo no so yateso so we use in digital platforms no editor or discount in the digital platforms near the Franco Trading app. Oko Google Play Store bit ma download it. And so in website francotrading.com now or Danioma it comes at a discounted price and then we'll deliver to you at your doorstep. Free 0246 422 338. Now the Franco Ninkomo Franco or still phone papa ifie eneho. Access banking so say any or de promotion be by a friend Access Bank Payday Loans. Access Bank Payday Loans. In the way, I must say, men train say will train payday. ebia na wo hia sika bia nimanim he ya de aye bibi babo so me nso ya wadwuma mbetua wo ka. With Access Bank, every day a payday. All you have to do is to simply dial star 901 star 11 hash. Star 901 star 11 hash. Start by dialing that. O dial we are. The attorney said you sign up to this Access Bank payday loan offer. Now with this offer, you can access up to 40% of your net monthly salary. In the Sika editorial card at the end of the month, no, make sure your net salary, no, ubetime nyamu 40% ahead and sana payday craso. Now udi a chow when the ayen yoma upese uye nyinara. Eya semde edema ejumayafo amuji akitue nyinara. It when no account no say our bank fufuro bi a switch neko yi fabra Access Bank and get paid any day. Remember, it's simple. Just dial star 901 star 11 hash and get your loan in 60 seconds. And the amounts are 40% of your net monthly salary loan now. When here documentations BL, you just dial and then in 60 seconds you have it. With Access Bank, any day can be payday. T's and C's apply. For more info, call our toll-free line 0800 004400. And as a visit our social media handles or our website, Access Bank, more than banking. Ekosiisen sini mene Honorable Fiifi Kwetey and a studio ha oye General Secretary hopeful for the NDC. My kind messages kakanafe mabaneho would wrap up this interview with something on about the economy, the current challenges, and being a former deputy finance minister. Nyoma Inofisa was say abai eye to get us out of this hole. But before that, we'll talk about the party and what he intends to change about the NDC. But before that, we say Obi, I just want to remind Honorable Fiifi Kwetey that he's contesting for the General Secretary position and not the communications officer or the propaganda secretary, and therefore he must tone down on this kind of commentary. Anyway, I just want to know if he would have contested if Mr. Asiedun Ketia were to be in the race. Kwesi Reynolds, Ewo Agwena Odoben. Obi, good evening. Honorable Fiifi Kwetey would make a fine General Secretary for the NDC. Please ask him for me what he would do to make the party very attractive to the teeming youth, especially the neutrals. Dennis Chado. Obi, good evening. Ask Honorable Fiifi Kwetey this simple question for me. Why is it that under him as a Greek minister, he performed abysmally as low, with a Greek growth as low as 0.9%? How can he convince his party folks whilst he cannot even convince himself to become the General Secretary of his own party? Is he not the same person who said free SHS was 419? Today, what do we see? Yaquinta Ashaiman. Obi.
Ekosiisen on Asempa FM.
This is not okay. We say Takrade Market Cycle, okay, and the earlier conversation. Obi, good afternoon. To me, Fiifi Kwetey is the best among the lot. One thing no one can take away from him is a selflessness and commitment. He is not self-centered at all. Also, the time he left Parliament tells it all. Now, my question, kindly ask him if he has ever regretted for some of the things he said about President Kufuor. Ask him again, what is his position on Dr. Kwabena Dufour's policy of trying to give each constituency a set of sound system for commercial purposes? Okro Yeboah, Ewo Breman, Benin. Obi, good evening. I'm enjoying your show this evening with Fiifi Kwetey. I wish him well. Alfred Kojo Tradels of the NDC. This one says, Obi, please ask Honorable Fiifi Kwetey, does he still stand by the famous comment he made against free SHS? All lie be lie. Okay, Nanamponsa Bediakon and Obusasa and Semi. Let me see the other ones here. Na Ian Twaso. This one says,
Ekosiisen on Asempa
Obi,
FM.
did I hear Honorable Fiifi Kwetey pride himself as being the orchestrator and originator of the Setting the Record Street, the same platform through which they churned out some info that were never substantiated, and some of which he apologized for during his vetting? We all know he can talk well, but being the secretary goes beyond just that. We haven't forgotten how he told us all the gold reserves being shared by Kufuor's government. The chickens have come home to roost, and this is time we shall serve them what they deserve. my city. Honestly, my city is on a free anchor. Anyways, Starsky, New York. And or the way about lots and lots of your messages. I'll come back to them. Now, fe ya kaini yina ede amamo. Ekosiisen na haya sempa 94.7 FM. Honorable, you've heard some of the messages. Any reactions to any of them? And
yeah, I think a few of them.
Sure.
Let me try to see whether I can remember all of them briefly. Sure. I think the first one. One of the first ones said. Agric under me grew at 0.9%. Sure. I don't know why my friends in MPP sometimes do not just take their time to just check the facts. If you check your facts, you will get it to know, for example, that the lowest growth that we had, in this, I think this fourth Republican, since we started the journey in 1982 in agriculture, happened in the year 2007 under President Kufuor, when we actually had a negative growth from 1.7. In 2015, that he's talking about, agri grew by minimum 2.5%. Minimum 2.5%. And that was not all. If you remember, by 2016, we actually were bequeathing to the incoming NPP administration almost 1 million metric tons of cocoa.
Sure.
They have not been able to reach anywhere close to that, what we handed over to them in 2016. Guess the cocoa that was what were maturing in 2017. At what times what you call those were being put into production. That's the moment that some of us were in the Greek sector. In that same time also, we saw rice production. In terms of the amount of money we spent on importation of rice, stood at about $430 million. Today, we are talking about not less than $1.5 billion being spent in importation of rice. That tells you what you call the massive job that we did in agriculture to ensure that we limited the amount of money, for example, we are spending on for example, importation of rice, for example. So, I mean, our friends sometimes rely a bit too much on things that are not verified when they can easily verify and know. So please don't always believe in anything that you read or you hear. Check the fact for yourself and you know that's not true. The issues about, I said lies about President Kufuor. No, first of all, about President Kufuor. Then again, you see, they don't take the time. If they, for example, they follow my vetting very well, what they will realize is that nobody in that panel accused me of having said that myself. What they said was that a newspaper published that. And that truly a newspaper publisher. And that newspaper is known as the Lens newspaper.
Which you were the publisher of?
I was actually the managing editor.
The managing editor.
Yeah, but then you see, it's just like saying, for example, that Asempa FM made what you call a statement that is not true. And therefore that statement must be blamed on the owner of Asempa FM. Or CNN made a statement that's not true. It must be blamed on the owner of CNN. It's not the same thing. Newspapers get mistakes. But for you to hold me to what newspaper said, when I have been a spokesperson for the party, I've done press conferences, and you cannot find that statement in one press conference that I organized for the party. I spoke on many platforms. You cannot find that in any. That should tell you that you simply don't have anything to say about me. So you are desperately looking for some newspaper to blame it on me. I'm not saying what the newspaper said is right, but you can't hold me when I've made many statements to as far as the communicator of the party. You cannot find one of such insight to tell me that is what.
So at the vetting, you apologize for the newspaper.
I told them exactly that the newspaper got it wrong. That newspaper kept that information from what you call the Ghana Web at the time. So they got it wrong. So that's not a problem. But in terms of what I have stood for and spoken about, what I've communicated as a communicator of this party, that statement never featured in any of them. And I told them, if you like, check through every single press conference I delivered, check through every statement I addressed, every party program, and see whether you ever hear that inside. Because the thing about me is this: if it is really not true, that you will not hear from me. I make sure we verify the information. Newspapers sometimes can get it wrong. So the newspaper made a mistake, and that apology has been rendered by the newspaper. The next one had to do with
Free Senior High School.
The Free Senior, in fact, should actually I not been even vindicated now? When I see, for example, what we have today, where the government has come full circle and admitting that the manner in which they have gone about it is a problem. That's exactly how we have done it when we were in power, which was a progressive free SHS, was actually the way they should have done it.
But the government hasn't said that.
But the government have. Because if they now are saying that, well, let's have a conversation about it. Let's have a conversation which is the same as let's review it. They're coming back to exactly the position we had articulated. Because what we told them is that the manner in which you claim you are going to do this is clearly not realistic given the resources we have. Effectively, they went ahead, simply they were trying to prove us wrong. In the process, what they've done is literally sink what you call the quality of our education. So you're talking about, for example, things that should be done by way of facilities are being neglected, things that should be done by way of the food that should be given to the children being neglected, what you call the future of our education is being put in peril. They are trying to do what you call new, past questions, thinking that the obsession, let's force so that they can pass, so that we can prove our opponent wrong. That's not the way you build an education structure. They are doing all this while neglecting what you call the basic education. We are having problems at the basic level. So you are literally destroying the future of the country by simply trying to prove your opponent wrong. Eat the humble pie, take a back step, and listen to what you call the advice that is coming from many well-meaning people who are not necessarily NDC, who are telling you that no, what you are doing, you are destroying the very future of our education. So if anything at all, they should actually be thanking us for giving them warning. And that warning they neglected, today it's coming home to roost.
But how do you come to the conclusion that quality in our senior high schools have dropped? Because the point is, you identify quality based on the results you churn out. And if year after year since the implementation of this policy, the WASSCE results really look good, and they put Ghana in good light in relation to our other contemporaries, you can then not argue that quality has dropped, can you?
You can actually use what you call short-term result to try to make a justification for yourself. But if you have a situation where children are not even getting proper nutrition in their school, what does that mean? It means that you are actually making it difficult for those children to have the capacity to concentrate, the capacity to learn. If in the meantime you are simply using what you call, you are using means by which they can get access to past questions so that they can pass for you to justify yourself politically, what you actually doing is that you are bringing a situation where gradually you are eroding the very quality, the very foundations of education are being eroded. Why do you think they will be talking about having a review if they themselves have not come to realize that if they continue doing what they are doing, they are simply jeopardizing the very future of education? So exactly, they are proving us right. They are showing clearly that, but for the politics which they are desperate to want to prove us wrong, they should actually have continue exactly where we left off, which is allowing parents who can make that contribution to make. By the way, people do not know, when the finance minister came out to say, for example, that we need to have a look at it because he could, for example, do you know actually what prompted him? 2 weeks before then, he had come to the finance committee, and I was a member of the finance committee.
Okay.
I was the one who actually asked him, point blank, Mr. Minister, you and I have the capacity to pay for our children's fees. Why do you think we should continue using taxpayers' money to pay for you and I, our kids' fee, when you know we can afford? Why don't we use that to take care of those who really cannot, so that we can continue paying? That was the time that he admitted that, okay, this is something I think we need to look at. 2 weeks after he went to CTFM and made the admission. So there again, credit to the NDC. Credit to the NDC. Not only do we warn them, we also even advised them while they were actually sinking education. And that was what made the finance minister to make that statement, and the government didn't like it. But today, Nana Akufo-Addo together with the others have come full circle to accept that advice, which was given by the finance minister, which came at the prompting of us from the NDC, is actually, we are people who love this country.
Yeah, but the president, even after the admission that he is open to a conversation around a review, has still said that irrespective of the conditionalities from the IMF program they are entering into, free SHS will still remain intact.
But you see,
it will not be hit by any
No, but what really is free SHS? What really is free SHS? Free SHS is simply a system by which you are saying that, listen, everyone who is in need of help in terms of paying fees can be helped.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's not different, for example, from what you and I were back in school then, where you have, for example, scholarship system that supported people who simply could not afford. Back in time, when I was in secondary school, people who really, really could not afford, there were scholarship systems, Cocoa Board Scholarship, Barclays Man Scholarship, and different scholarship systems that helped them. That's exactly what we're talking about still today. Those who can afford, let them pay. Those who cannot, have a system by which you can support them. And it's easy to know. For example, many children who go through what you call the public sector at the basic level, for the most part, it's because their parents simply cannot afford. Because remember, the private level is more expensive.
Yes.
But anyone, for the most part, who is able to take his child through basic private school, where they pay sometimes 3 times what we are supposed to be paying at the secondary level, those people, by and large, have the means to be able to continue doing what they are doing, unless somehow they have suddenly lost a job, and those can easily be verified. So I'm saying that we love this country, and if you love a country, you put what you call the well-being of the children, the well-being of a country ahead of your politics. What we have seen in Akufo-Addo is actually putting his politics ahead of the well-being of our country and the well-being of our children. So, for example, when he made a statement that I would rather fight for the next generation rather than fight for the next election, everything has proven that he actually meant the very opposite. He actually will fight for the next election and sacrifice the next generation. That's exactly what we've had. But that's about the question.
Sure.
The final one.
So I think the final one will push us into what you want to see change about the NDC. So this one says that you would make a fine general secretary, but he tells me to ask you what you would do to make the party very attractive to the teeming youth, especially neutrals.
All right. If you listen to my conversation, I mean, since we started,
yes,
you saw that despite the fact that I'm very passionate NDC person, I'm honest enough to admit that over the last 30 years, even us could be better in many ways. I spoke, for example, about the fact that we need to be looking at how we can be restoring what I call the original principles of the party. And what are those principles? Basically, patriotism, love for nation. And that's what I told you about Anthem, that this is who we are. We need to have a situation where we can start speaking more to the soul of this party, to have millions of people whose number one concern is the well-being of Ghana. Listen, there's no way this country is going to have a rapid acceleration until we have millions of citizens who are committed to the well-being of the country. My brother, if you are committed to Ghana, there are things you do today that you wouldn't do. And if all of us start doing what is right for this country, this economy will improve. A lot of what is happening is also because individually, at our individual levels, we are doing things that are holding back the very progress of our country. The first thing I want to do is that we want to speak to the millions of the for NDC people that listen, we can be a party of patriots again. We can be a party of much greater patriotism. And that means we can actually be a party that will bring the greater acceleration of the development of the country, which actually benefits our young people. It also means we care enough about our young people to do what is right for the future to become better. I am actually hoping that NDC becomes a party of what you call solutions. Not a party that cries about problems, but a party that's constantly thinking about how we can find solutions. A party that thinks about how we can empower what you call the millions who belong to us. And some of that empowerment does not necessarily mean taking money from the national and sending them to people who are at the branch level.
Yes.
It simply means thinking through a system by which young people in our party can find greater creativity to find what you call problems in their communities and be the means by which solutions can come. Imagine, for example, if we can get 3 people in the NDC through whom we can have, for example, great ideas, like some of the ideas that have brought about change in technology all over the world. Is that not a massive transformation? I actually hope that we can actually have a competition between the youth for the NDC and the youth for the MPP. No more a competition as to who can cause more trouble in any community, but who can actually become much more loving of community and much more looking for answers for the problem of those communities.
That's interesting.
That actually is my competition. It should be a competition of excellence. No more the competition which is about we are both mediocre, that you are 20 and I'm 90. And therefore, that kind of thing. No, I'm pushing for 95 and you say, no, I want to go for 97. That is the competition I'm looking for. And that, I feel, that's the next level that we need to go, to build on the foundations that we have in order to make this party to become a party that is driven towards excellence, a party that's looking for answers and solutions, a party that's more data-driven, much more scientific in the approach we have, a party that becomes also a real property of the members, a situation where a few people do not control the party. A few people with resources are controlling the party. We want to create means by which many more members can own this party together. And we can do that. And that really
should be through what? Donations?
No, not
dues payment?
Yeah. It actually means you are creating systems that are empowering members.
Okay.
And so that those members now feel much more that they belong.
Okay.
They can actually own the party much more by in terms of, for example, we live in a country where from 1992 today, the perception is that once you belong to a political party, you must always be at the receiving end of things. We should, it is because largely, once power is won, there seems to be a certain forgetting of those who are working for the party, right from branches all the way to region, all the way to the national. We actually must be able to see an end to that. It means, for example, having people at the top who, for example, I've been in government. So, for example, being in government, working very closely with the Minister of Finance, where I've been before, working closely with the Chief of Staff, we can have system in which we can think about how we can bring genuine empowerment to people who belong to the party without necessarily breaching any rules at all. Do it proper, do it well, find system that can genuinely unleash their creativity and their capacity. I mean, so we have ideas, and some of those ideas we will be able to discuss much more, what you call one-on-one.
When you meet the delegates.
People to speak to them and tell them about some of the ideas we have that can bring genuine transformation.
Do you think, because I've heard this, and I believe it's only fair that I ask you now that you are here, that, because I was reading an article which was an analysis of the current population figures in our country following the recent national census, and it says around 20 million Ghanaians are young people. 20 million. So we have a median age as a country now at 21. 21 years our median age. 20 million is a huge number.
Absolutely.
And I believe that's why that connection to the youth is important for a party like the NDC. Some have said when you get to our tertiary campuses, the NDC is not very popular as compared to the NPP. How do you want to change that? That would be my number one question. Number two would be that for most of these people, there is, because I remember in uni when we're doing linguistics, we studied about what we call a de facto national language. So it seems for us as a country, a de facto national language arguably would be, say, Akan. Would you consider that to be a limitation for you? And that might not allow you to do the job as you want to do it when you become General Secretary?
Good question again. I mean, you're good at your questions.
Thank you.
The first one about the youth and the fact that somehow our campuses, we need to do far better than we are doing. I would say really it's not a recent development. When I was on campus, and by the way, I was the NDC chairman in 1992, the very first election.
1992.
What were you in 1992?
That should be, I was probably in class 1.
I know, right? I was the NDC chairman in University of Ghana campus. I was then in my final year in the University of Ghana. And I was the chairman of the NDC. And I can tell you, very few people had the courage to identify as NDC members. I would think that this has a certain historical situation. Remember, we were a party that came out of a revolution. So there were 10 years of what you call a military region, a PNDC. So over that period, we whether we like it or not, we had a number of people who became enemies. The media, because the culture of silence, so the media generally was very angry against us. So journalists generally were not for us. You have what you call the legal fraternity, not exactly our friends. You have a lot of what you call the teachers, we call the lecturers on campuses, not exactly our friends. Now, naturally, the student front as well, we're not exactly what you call our friend. I can tell you, when I went to the uni, the very first year, when you go to what you call the FUE at the time we call it, the very, very first week you go through the normal orientation. When they took us to orientation, that first week, I think it was the second day on campus, University of Ghana. I'm talking somewhere September 1990. The very orientation being done by NUCS, it was simply an orientation to program us against the government which of the PNDC. Every single thing was simply to program you towards against the. In fact, one of the reasons why I never was interested in student politics was because at the time I was in campus, everybody, I would say most people who were students were being programmed against the government. And I held that government in esteem. I love that government, even though I knew they were not perfect. I love Jerry Rawlings. I love the PNDC. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to be part of this thing about against government. So that very day when they were taking us through institution, I asked a question. I asked them in plain language that, why are you telling us that the government is bad? You do not trust that we have the capacity, first year student, asking the news leadership, asking them why you do not trust that we have the capacity to make a determination for ourselves. Why do you? And as soon as I asked that question, you know what happened? One of the news leaders took the microphone and said, "FUs, you must know that some among us here are BNI agents." I started laughing. Now, maybe I don't even know where the office of the BNI was. It tells you that right from the word go, I was pretty much what you call a hardcore NDC, if you call it pre-NDC, NDC. Exactly. Now, so on campuses, we did not have a lot of love coming from students. And that, unfortunately, has remained over a period. I would say, one of the ways we can do that, students love a good debate. Students love to associate with who has the facts. I'm saying, let us have what you call a platform that will be a platform for conversation on campuses. Let us, for example, have a platform and put together different subjects. Economy, NDC, MPP. Let's come before the student front. That's why I do not really, even though I understand this whole thing about NDC has a group called TAIN, MPP has a group called TESCON, and understand that, I believe that we should be looking much more of a common platform of students. I want to go on campus and not simply to talk to people who are aligned to NDC. I want to be able to talk to MPP aligned students and let them know that my party has a better platform and convince them as to why, as students, they should actually be appreciating my party. That I've got a better record in terms of love for country. I've got a better record in terms of platform on education, better record in terms of management of the economy, better record in terms of what you call bringing better education, health system, and stuff like that. I believe we can win a lot more students when we open up to those bigger platforms. And that's something I can tell you I'm going to push a lot. So this whole compartmentalization where you go, you only talk to 10, that has to be, I mean, you should still have that, but you should learn to have a bigger tent. A lot of students are interested in a bigger platform. Let's do that. Let's have that conversation in communities. Where it's not, I do not want to, for example, come to a community only to talk to NDC supporters. No, I say all the time that I wouldn't mind being invited to an MPP youth program. I'm telling you that when I go into that program, by the time I finish, I'm telling you I'll win hearts. Even though they may not like the fact that I'm tough NDC. When they listen to me, when they know this guy loves his country, this guy is passionate about young people, this guy has ideas that even some of them may want to. So you may be able to win some over. So I say that that's what we need to do in order to be able to get many more young people to come to join us. Because that's one of the things. The second one about
the language barrier.
Yeah, I've heard that bit. But see, I guess the success of my incumbent general secretary, some way somehow has become as if that's the norm. Before he became general secretary, we had two general secretaries in the NDC. The first general secretary of our party is Hudu Yaya. Alaji Hudu Yaya. Alaji Hudu Yaya speaks English. And then he's native Dagbani. And he was a very effective general secretary. We won 2 elections back to back with him leading us. Our first chairman, the venerable Isifu Ali. He was actually somebody who spoke his native Wala, I think, and then spoke English as well. In fact, as recent as 2008, we had national campaign coordinator who was in charge of the whole campaign and went to every nook and cranny of this country. Alexei Befia. Alexei actually speaks virtually no Ghanaian language, but you're still effective, and we won with him. In fact, even in the MPP, you can take MPP. You say MPP is a natural account party, much more account party, but you have a great campaign manager like Jacob Echebelante, who does not speak any Ghanaian language at all.
He even became chairman.
He actually was a great campaign manager and led them to victory. He became chairman of the party and was still effective. So I think that even though it's a beautiful thing for you to have capacity to be able to go to different places and speak to their language that you can appreciate, it's not necessarily, it doesn't take away your capacity to be efficient. If you're efficient, you are just efficient. It means, for example, when I was in charge of the communication of my party, why? I used to come to Asempa FM and I speak English. The quality of what you say, even people who don't understand English, they are interested in hearing it. They want to know what this man is saying. And I also had what you call a very able deputy in Anita De Suso, who could speak very well, for example, Chui. So some of the program, which is complete Chui program, she does it. And then I could do the English, and then different people would take it to different languages. So the Gan speaking people would take it to the Gan communities, the Dagbani people would take it to the Dagbani community, the Hausa community. That's what you need to do. So as a general secretary, what matters most is your capacity to get a job done and to put together a team that can ensure that the job gets done in every nook and cranny. Because you see, if the capacity, for example, to speak multi-languages alone can deliver efficiency, we will not, for example, have a situation in 2020, for example, that we were not able to, for example, to collect results efficiently and on time. It's part of the possibility that people could speak multiple languages. Because multiple languages does not replace your capacity to be competent and get a job done.
And to be efficient. I remember when the man in charge of your elections directorate was here, he's one of your opponents. I mean, I asked him this question about they not being able to collate results on time. He vehemently disagreed and rather said, on the contrary, that they actually did, and that the collation was again divided between the elections directorate and the IT directorate. So the IT had to do the IT collation. They only built another layer to collect results manually. So he cannot be blamed for not being able to collect results on time.
The simple answer, that is very similar to what Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia have been doing about the economy, where you simply want to run away from responsibility. It's simple as that. That's simply Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia behavior. The buck stops with you. If you are election director, it means that you are in charge of ensuring that results also are delivered. Because I can tell you, if the coalition system had worked efficiently and those results were delivered, you'll be basking in the glory and be saying that, yeah, I managed the whole elections, we delivered the results on time. Now this one didn't happen, now you're running away from it, yet you are basking in another glory. No. You see, leadership is about the capacity to take responsibility. That's what leadership is about. If you are unable to take responsibility, you are abdicated even your claims to leadership. It's as simple as that. To be a leader, you must have the courage to own up to responsibility. Say, this one I didn't do well, I will do better. That is what a leader is. Because the moment you start giving excuses, it means that when you are giving even a bigger task and you fail, you will come and give another excuse again. That's not what is needed. Capacity to take responsibility and show that you are accountable. That is what marks a leader. So for me, this Bawumia, Nana Akufo-Addo like Anna Kweku Anansi excuses, I don't have patience at all for it.
So yes, we should be wrapping up, but there are, at least for now, we know there are two people plus you contesting for the General Secretary. Which of them is your biggest threat?
To be honest, I have respect for the two contenders. I look at it like both of them effectively have, over the last 4 years, effectively used their offices to do indirect campaigns everywhere. So I look at it like I'm running against two very formidable opponents. But I believe that with hard work, with a message that resonates, with a message that actually transcends even NDC, a message that is looking at the future, not just of NDC, but of the future of Ghana, especially the kind of love I have relating to the future of our country, the children in particular. I believe that it's a message that will be able to sell to the people of NDC in order for us to have the opportunity to be able to serve.
Something happened in the NPP elections where for the General Secretary position, the youngest of all the candidates, eventually emerged victorious in Justin Frimpong Kodia. In your case, Otukono looks the younger, of all the three. He is currently Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations. Does that not put some shivers down your spine that maybe he might be the dark horse in this race?
Oh, not necessarily. Bizidin was actually acting General Secretary in 2005. And we went to Koforidua and he lost. Now, so if acting General Secretary is losing, what about Deputy General Secretary? By the way, Elvis Africa was also Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations as well. So sometimes when I hear Otokuno making claims as if he's got some kind of capacity in that position, I'm like, but Elvis had the same position as you. So, I mean, what makes you more qualified than Elvis? And so, in that respect, I really don't see that as a problem at all.
That's a problem.
No, I don't see that.
Okay. So, going round, because I know officially the party has not opened, for you guys to go out there and do campaigning, but you are consulting, you are speaking to delegates and all of that. How are they receiving you?
Generally, the thing about me is I operate always with what you call worst case scenario in mind.
Okay.
Meaning, I operate like, okay, maybe my message is not yet being received, so I need to work extra hard to try to explain my message better. I do not assume that somehow everybody lost me to the high heavens. No. So I go out of my way to try. Of course, you want to encourage to know exactly the genuine thinking of people. That's what you should do as a politician. As I told you, to thine own self be true. So I'm not somebody who suffers from delusion. So sometimes when I see politicians who are so delusional, and then he's going to get 1% at the end of the election, somehow he tells you that he's winning, I have a problem with that. Because me actually is the opposite. Even if I'm actually 95% success, I still have a feeling that, listen, is it genuine? Is it true? Is the message truly sinking? What really is the concern? What are the issues that we need to address? What are the issues they may have that we need to clarify? So basically, that's how I operate. Anyway, but let me not disclose too much of the other details. Yeah.
I mean, we genuinely wish you well. We wish you very, very well. We know you can serve your party and serve your party well, and hopefully, of all the three, the best candidate will emerge on the day. So all the best.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you to your, to uncountable listeners out there, and of course those who are watching us on Facebook as well. I wish all of them well. What my final word would be that what is most important is to work together to build a nation that will be great and strong under God. And I believe NDC as a platform can become much, much stronger, to become a party of patriots, a party actually that can even inspire MPP, because I genuinely want the two parties to become party of genuine patriots. I look forward to patriot emerging, taking over the two political parties. So much so that if NDC had to ever lose power and MPP has to take over power, you still can rest knowing that patriots are in charge and they're doing what is right for the country. And the country, this whole situation where one party must destroy the other party, the only way you can survive is if I destroy my opponent. I think it's a primitive politics, and we must be looking towards transcending it. It should be it should be a competition of excellence, and that's really some of what we want to let the NDC rise into being, first and foremost, competitive to be able to win first of all, but also competitive in letting the country know that we are the best, and pushing the opponent to want to become like us, become much more patriotic, much more driven towards answer solution, towards excellence, and the country becomes a better off for it. That is the dream, and once God gives us the opportunity, I believe it's a dream we can work towards bringing into reality. So thank you once again for
17th December is the day, right? 17th December.
Absolutely.
Hey. So by same time, okay, it's 4:55.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes congresses can last very long.
And the last one went deep into the night.
Exactly.
Abdul Malik Kwekubako says his regards to you.
It's a man I cherish a lot. He knows that very much. Even though, of course, politically we've been on the on opposite side. But trust me, if there's talking about one person who genuinely knows his stuff and does good for his country, Kweku is one. I respect him a lot.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Fifi. We wish you well.
I wish you well too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Ekosiisen, 94.